Hey everybody, I hope you can all hear me. I've got no way of checking, and I hope that you can all see me as well. Actually, I've got a way. Please, if you're there in the chat, just give me a hello, good evening. It's evening where I am, and just let me know if you can hear me okay. We'll get started shortly. Look at that. So we got 28 people viewing. Cool. Rajesh is there. Krishna Vyas. Anyone else? Just use the chat, say hello. Perfect. All right, cool. Very good. So, welcome to this Avanti Nights session. My name is KalKey, and I'm really excited to be here with you guys to share some stuff on family values and just general well-being pieces. I'm also a singer. I write my own songs, and I was planning on playing guitar and singing to you today as well, but YouTube have this amazing feature, Zoom as well, and there's no way around it. We've tried. If you're technical, maybe just throw in your suggestions. It cuts out the audio, so you can't hear the guitar, and it just cuts everything up. We've done a few tests, so unfortunately, I can't play my guitar, but I promise I'll do some singing. Great, we've got some hellos there. Fantastic. What I'd like to do is just start off by hearing from you. So in the chat, can you just tell me what you'd like to hear about, what you'd like to learn about? Is there anything in particular? I'll tell you a little bit about myself as I do that, which will help you come up with your questions. I am, as was said in the blurb, I'm a singer songwriter. I spend a lot of my time traveling around the world. Before COVID, now I travel online, leading sessions with organizations to help develop their talent. And what does that mean? Well, that means really just allowing people to find paths to happiness. And the organizations I work with are quite big organizations, global organizations that now recognize we need to invest this type of resource into our people. We need to give people the opportunity to find happiness. The happier you are outside of work, the happier you are inside of work. Let's have a look. Learn about the outsiders. I'm not sure what you mean there, Krishna, but yeah, help me out to understand that. Cool. What else? What else? Anyone? What would you like to learn about? And to cook? Yeah, I've got no help there. I can call my wife. I can make a mean noodles though. I'm pretty good at noodles. Anything else? Cool. All right. Well, we'll get started. We'll get started anyway, and just put any questions you've got in the chat window. Today's session is really about the family, and when I was talking about organizations and how they will say we want to invest in our people, we want to develop our people because we understand that if you're happier at home, you're happier at work, and the same thing happens for children. Now, in terms of my background, I have two children, and they're 7 and 3. They are a delight, but at times they're super hard work. I also used to be a school teacher. So I spent when I was graduated, I spent that first period of my career working in a school as a science teacher and design technology teacher. And my God, was that hard. That was super, super hard. It was a really hardening experience. So I have so much respect for teachers out there. I've got so much respect for parents out there. And what I realized as I was becoming a teacher, there was only so much I could do. I had a massive role in those children's lives, but actually, most of the work was centered around the family situation, the parent situation. As parents, we are the hub, if you like, the hub and spoke for our children. And many of us will try to do anything we possibly can to keep our children happy. Would you all agree with me? And you don't have to put it in the chat because I know that's why you're here. If you're attending, there's many people that will say, you know what, I will do whatever it takes to make my children happy. Sometimes we get it right, and sometimes we get it wrong. And I'm going to talk about the research I've done into child psychology, the research I've done into my own experience as a teacher and also as a parent, and where I've made mistakes, how we've made things wrong, and lessons I've learned from other people as well. As a parent, we have the ability to make our child's life successful or unsuccessful. And I know that sounds really heavy, but it is the truth. We have a huge responsibility. There are so many other factors that come into play as well, so many other factors that sometimes we're not in control of. But the factors we are in control of, I think is really important that we control them as much as we possibly can. When I was a teacher, there was a child in my class. His name was John, and I was a young teacher, so I've got lots of ambition. I can change the world. I can change this class. And I was working in a school I was working in a school that was called a sync school. That means that the children that come to that school, the parents really didn't care about what school they went to. There was a council estate just nearby, huge amount of children from the council estate. Nothing wrong with that, but quite often those children had poor backgrounds. There were children with high amounts of English as a second language as well. And so this school had lots of behavioral problems, lots of difficulties. Teachers would arrive and leave on their first day. And I remember really clearly telling my class, I said, right, everyone, put your circuit boards down. It was an engineering class. I said, put your circuit boards down, turn around and face this way. Anyway, so most of them did that. And there was a boy there, John, he didn't do it. So I said, John, turn around and face this way. Everyone turned around except for John. I was like, John, can you turn around and face this way, please? He turned around and he told me to a word with an F and then off. And naturally, you're like, oh, how dare you tell me to, that. So then I said to him, you know what? Can you just go and wait outside? And I was really annoyed. And then I thought to myself, right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to sort him out and all that stuff. But then I thought, you know what I'm going to do? Actually, I'm going to change it around a little bit. My strategy up to that point hadn't been working. So I said, John, I want you to come to my office tomorrow. So I want you to come tomorrow at lunchtime and we're going to have a chat about this. So I went to have a look at his file. And when I looked at his file, his mum had left. So she'd left with another person. He was at home with his dad. His dad was disabled, and he would spend most of his time when he'd go home, he'd have to cook for himself. He was a 13-year-old boy. He had to cook for himself. He had to feed himself, fend for himself. And I thought, oh my gosh, if I had that situation, then no wonder I would be so angry at the world. And the nearest person I can just release that anger at that point was me. I called him out in front of the class. So the next day, I said, John, come in, have a seat. Anyway, he walks in. How do you think children walk in like that? Kick the chair, like that. So he sits down. I said, John, can we just try that again? Can we just take another stab at that, please? I want you to stand up and I want you to come in and just walk in calmly and sit down. So he took his time, did it again. Still not very happy. The face is all screwed up. And then I said to him, John, what did I do wrong? When I called you up, what did I do wrong that you swore at me? And he said, you know what, I you called me out in front of my friends and I felt embarrassed and I thought I have to stand up to you, sir. I said, look, I'm apologetic for that. I would super apologize for doing that. Absolutely, I do. But can we come to some sort of arrangement where you do listen? Because I'm the teacher. You have to listen to me. What can we do? And I thought, you know what? This boy needs some level of responsibility. So I said to him, right, John, I've got a great idea. I want you to be in charge of the circuit boards. I think you'll be so good at looking after that. You're very resourceful. You look after things well. He wasn't resourceful. He didn't look after things well, but I had to just implant those thoughts in his mind. So I said, I want you to do this. You're going to look after this. And what do you think? Honestly, his eyes just lit up and he thought, are you serious, sir? Are you serious? Yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. And I'm not going to say it was plain sailing every day after that. It was hard work. But me giving him that responsibility, me trying to understand his situation, was paramount in getting him on side. But the key takeaway for me was that the reason why his behavior was so bad is because his family situation was just so poor. Now, I'm guessing for many of us, there aren't we don't have that kind of situation. You're coming along to this event, you are interested in your child's education, the types of questions that you're asking means that you're really interested. But us as parents, we have a really strong role to be that hub and spoke for our children. That until we are balanced, until we're fully balanced, then it will mean that our children sometimes are going to be imbalanced as well. And so what I want to talk about is some of the ways in which we as parents can balance ourselves out. I'm going to also start looking at the questions. Someone said, can you give me some advice on how to monitor screen time for young kids? Let's have a look what else we got. How do you keep our kids happy at home? Someone said, how can we be happy? Child's self-esteem. Yeah, keep them coming in. So I am going to get to these questions. We're only 10 minutes in. So we first have to establish that we are paramount to our children's happiness and success. And all of us, we want our children to be happy and successful. That's something we're all striving for as parents, especially if many of you will be Asian parents, you'll be looking for that as well. The problem is sometimes we get it wrong. Yeah, we absolutely get it wrong in the way that we deliver that. So we love our children, we want them to be happy, we want them to be successful. There's this really incredible philosophy of being that I subscribe to, and it's to do with this great book, Man's Search for Meaning, and it's by Viktor Frankl. He was a Holocaust survivor, and he survived the Holocaust. And people afterwards said to him, how did you survive? You were in these concentration camps. How did you come out of it? And he said to them, well, one thing that I had and I built was a space between stimulus and response. When something happens, I built that space, so I choose how I respond. It may not be that every time you respond, you're super calm, super relaxed, etc. But at least you're having that choice. Stimulus comes in, you get to decide, how do I respond? And for me, parents, being a good parent, being a good teacher, I have to definitely work on this space between stimulus and response, because everything that we do as a parent is super stressful. We're doing so many different things, especially in this lockdown period. What happens to that space between stimulus and response? It gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And that's when we say, will you just go over there? I've had enough of you. And then we think, oh, why did I say that? Why did I act like that? Yes, so other people are saying it's good. So I think it's so important that what we have to do is just increase that space between stimulus and response. How do we do that? Well, we need to take out time for ourselves. For me, meditation is a key part of that. If I'm meditating, that's going to help me. So, and we'll go over some meditation techniques later. So that's one thing. I'm going to ask you, put it in the chat. How do you think we can increase that space between stimulus and response? And even when do you find that getting tighter and tighter? Quite often at the end of the day, I'm sure. It's been a long day. You've worked. You've been on a Zoom call all day. You've been trying to manage your kids with chocolate and screen time. We'll talk about screen time in a moment. Delay your response, meditation, gratitude, raising awareness. Yeah, absolutely. All of the things that are going to slow down. Why do we have that instant stimulus and response? Why do we have that? We have it because we're on edge. We're stressed out. Our mind's going 100 miles an hour. So whatever we can do to try and just slow that down, whatever we can do to slow that down is so important. We increase that space so that when a stimulus happens, we say, well, hold on a second. What my kid is asking for or what's going on with that particular person is not that bad. Let me just choose how I respond to it. And all of this comes with time and practice. How many of you drive? Someone said breathing. Yeah, absolutely. Taking a deep breath. How many of you drive? Many of you. If you're dropping your kids to Avanti from all sorts of places, I'm sure you all drive. And when you were young, how do you think driving went? Or your children, how do they think driving goes? Like if you got young children, how do they? They're like that. That's what they do. Now, I wouldn't say it to them because it wouldn't be helpful. But at this point, they are unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know. Yeah, it's a bit harsh me saying that they're incompetent, but they're unconsciously incompetent. Now, as you get older, I loved cars. When I was 17, I bought myself, I went for my first driving lesson. Had no money, couldn't buy myself anything. And I was terrible. I was rubbish. And I realized very quickly that I don't know what I'm doing. I was consciously incompetent. And then I took some lessons. I passed my test. And once you pass your test, well, you are competent. That's the reason for the test. But you are consciously competent, i.e., you're knowing, oh, round the corner, mirror signal maneuver, uh, second gear, etc. All that kind of stuff. You've suddenly become competent, but it's conscious. And then over time, I'm sure you've had this experience. You drive for 5-10 minutes and you think, how the hell did I get from there to here without killing anybody? Did I stop at that roundabout? Did I stop at that traffic light? You've become so good at driving, you are now unconsciously competent. And the same thing happens for these types of skills. When we're trying to increase that space between stimulus and response, we have to work on it. We have to be able to work on those key skills. We have to build that up. Breathing, meditation, taking some time out, choosing not to respond. When your children, I know it's hard. Mummy, can I have it? Mummy, can I have it? Daddy, can I have it? Can you give it to me? Can I have it now? Can I have a chocolate now? I've asked for the chocolate now. Can I have a chocolate now? Can I have... Like, oh my God, here, just shut up, take the chocolate. Like, we all do it, okay? So it happens, or even louder sometimes. But just saying, hold on 1 second, and just taking a breather. I know it's easier said than done, but the more we train our mind, the easier it is to do. One of the other things in terms of making our children happy, making ourselves happy, is trying to understand how someone asked, how does this work with mental health? This is a huge part of mental health, giving yourself that space. And there are some key practical things you can say if you've got a partner or whatever it might be, finding that time to just give yourself a break. By the way, quite often, I know we use Netflix, I know we use YouTube, I know we use Instagram as our switching off. That's really not switching off. Just like, for your child, giving them screen time isn't switching them off. We all know, give them screen time. After the screen time, they seem to be nutters. It doesn't work. So meditation and other things. And I've seen these other questions. I'll come to them in a moment. I want to come back to this point of child's happiness. Now, if we think about ourselves, okay, so we're all older now, we've gone through life, or a huge part of life. I want you to tell me what makes you happy. How are you happy? What makes you happy? Hi, Gia. Yeah, what makes you happy? Just post in the chats something that makes you happy. Someone said Kirtan, nice. Helping others, practicing music. Cool. How many of you have watched any series like Game of Thrones or some series on TV, and you've there's that feeling of in Netflix, I've got to get to the next episode. Just watch the next one. Oh, let me just get through this. Watch the next one. Watch the next one. And you finish and you think, oh yeah, we've watched the whole series now. We watched everything. And you're like, well, what have I actually achieved? It doesn't really give you happiness. The same thing with material things. When you get a new car. Like I got a new car last year before lockdown, and I was so excited about it. Got it, and now I look at it and think that's just costing me money sitting on my drive, and I'm not using it. I've done 3,000 miles in a year and a half. Total waste of time and energy. I don't think there's anything material that has ever genuinely filled somebody up or made them happy. Someone here said a sense of personal achievement, feeling appreciated. Absolutely. It's the intangible things that make us happy. It's love that make us happy. And so for our children is the exact same thing. Yes, they seem happy when we give them toys at Christmas and for their birthday, but we all know within 5, 10 minutes, they've put that down. They don't care about it. They want something else that some other child has got. Our continuing material desires that we face as adults. When I get this, I'll be happy. If I get this, I'll be happy. When I do that, I'll be happy. Only when this happens, I'll be happy. There's a continuing desire of material things that we're hoping are going to make us happy. And the unfortunate thing is we put that on our children. When you do your GCSEs, you'll be happy. When you pass that, you'll be happy. When you get this thing, you'll be on your birthday. I'm going to throw you the best party ever, and you're going to be happy. And then you wonder why your kid has a meltdown, and then you're like, oh, they don't appreciate me. I work so hard. But actually, all your children want is the same thing that you want to be happy. You want love. You want to be appreciated. You want to say, well done. You want to give them time and attention and love and care. The same things that you want, that you know will make you happy, are the same things that will make your children happy. The problem is we're so busy trying to fill all these other material things, and rightfully so. We've got to put a roof over their heads. We've got to feed them, etc. But we just need to make sure there's balance there. So my conclusion on that point is that material things, we know they don't make us happy. Therefore, we know they won't make our children happy. And we need to spend less time focusing on those things, more time focusing on the things that we know make us fulfilled. Somebody said, lockdown has taught me the only happiness is inward. Yeah. So I'm going to look at some of your questions now, and let's have a look. So we've got someone said, how can you give some advice on how to monitor screen time for young kids? It's hard in lockdown because everything's on the screen. I would say when you say monitor, do you mean like actually how many hours, or how do you make sure they're not spending too much time on the screen? I would say, how do you make sure they're not watching too much time on the screen, or there isn't too much screen time? It's just you just have to enforce and restrict it. My wife, I'm actually lucky. My wife was very strict on these things when they were young. My children don't know how to use mobile phones yet. They don't know how to really use the iPad. We do put movies on for them on the iPad at the weekend and other times, but we try not to give it to them. In fact, what we do is how can we get you to do other activities that aren't to do with the iPad? Let's go and make a pillow fort in the living room. Let's get a blanket and pretend we're going camping. Cool things like that. And ultimately, you have to want to do that with them, because it's hard. I remember as kids, we'd get cardboard boxes and make forts out of them, as in want to use iPads for games. I would say use it less. It's just one of those things. Just use it less and less for games. Do other creative, imaginatory things with them. There's a great saying I heard: kids kids don't do what you tell them; they do what you do. And we've seen this ourselves. So if and I'm guilty of this. Don't think I'm don't think I I'm not on my phone. But if I'm like this, don't go away, come back later, can you do this, don't play on your iPad, don't watch TV. It's just not going to work. So I need to learn to put this down, spend time with them. Is what I'm doing here, is it really that important at that point in time? Yes, okay, if it is work, but Is it right now, that thing that I'm doing, is it just equate? How important is it? Do I need to respond to that message? Is that person going to die if I don't respond to that message? But is my child going to miss out if I respond to that message? Probably. Yeah, kids copy their parents. So that was one. What else we got? Yeah, so there's also science kits, loads of other cool things you can get these days. I used to love playing with Lego, Meccano. Let's have a look. What else we got? How do you keep the kids happy at home? I think I answered some of that. And how do we be happy? It's a case of spending time. Kids just want time. I remember my dad would come home every day at 5:30. This was his routine all the time. 5:30, he'd be home. We'd have family dinner at 5:30. And my mum and dad would ask me, how was school today? What did you learn? And when I was young, I would always be, yeah, it was this, that. Of course, when I got older, those teenage years, I was like, yeah, it's all right. Didn't want to talk. I'm sure many of you are facing that with teenagers right now, that weird grunt, and you're wondering, is everything all right? Is there anything? Are they on drugs? I remember my mum even asking me. She said, "Son, are you on drugs?" And I was like, "No, of course not. I'm not on drugs. Just quiet." Even though it didn't seem I was interested at the time, I look back to those memories so fondly because it gave me a sense of security. I know that my parents were there for me. I know that I feel safe in the world. I can't even describe it. I just know that at that time I feel safe in whatever happened to me in my life then. That security I was given when I was young allows me to be safe now. It's weird. That also leads on to a question someone asked about self-esteem. How do you make children feel good? I do lots of work with corporates, as I said. And we often find, and this is hard, this is a really hard balance. We often find that some of the people that we work with in these roles, when it comes to getting feedback, they are not good at receiving feedback, which is constructive. That means, hey, you need to work more on this area, because their whole life they've been told, you're amazing, that line that you drew, you're an artist, wow, you sing so beautifully, oh my god, you're the most amazing, you're so beautiful. And don't get me wrong, all of those things are great. I say it to my children all the time. I'm all the time saying, you're really good, well done, I love this. So but the problem is that our generation, we're doing that more and more than our parents did to us. My parents, probably I can count on my hands, maybe 10 times complimented me. So when they get into the workplace, they struggle to deal with any sort of criticism, anything that can be what's the word? Yeah, anything that can be negative or ask them to work on themselves. So I think when children are young, it's so important to build up their self-esteem. It's so important to tell them, you did this, and it applies in the workplace now. When we talk about giving feedback, we talk about using behaviors. I loved the way you stood up and spoke so confidently, as an example of some real, it's not a compliment, it's good feedback, and it makes someone feel good about themselves. Even children, you'll know, and they know when you're lying, when you're just making up something positive about them. I love the way you stood up and you were so confident. That's an example of where you're using behaviors to reinforce feelings and help them with their self-esteem. And at times you may need to correct them if there's things that you think they need to work on. Again, refer to behaviors rather than saying things like, oh, you're so late, you're so messy, or you're this. Use behavior. Say, now the way that you drew that was messy, or the way you organized your desk means you're unable to find the things that you're looking for, and therefore next time blah blah blah. Behaviors are so powerful when we draw on behaviors and describe them either positively or negatively, and the outcome that those behaviors have. Children are intelligent and can understand that. It's so important to talk in that way. Someone said meal times are invaluable. Yeah, meditation and music. Absolutely, meditation and music should be part of the curriculum. I think they are at the Avanti. Someone said, any advice for someone who likes to write and sing his own songs? Do it. Go for it. Absolutely. I would embrace it. There's loads of YouTube videos, tutorials to help people do it. I remember sitting trying to just write my own music. Probably if I heard it back, it's not great, but it was a fun. It doesn't matter. It's a super fun process. How do you know how to control someone's diet? Now, I'm not a dietitian, but I think you have to think with love. You have to think, is that enough? Are they full? Is that enough for them? And should I stop now? Things that I find are quite filling and good fats. So avocados, nuts, other bits and pieces, again in moderation, are really good, and they're filling as well. High protein foods. I'm vegetarian, practically vegan, but still high. You can find lots of high protein things, and they fill you up. There's lots of alternatives to the junky snacks nowadays out there, and I would say try and lean on those. Cool. Duh, duh, duh. So, what else we got? What are the questions? Someone said about a teenager. How can you help your teenager? Teenage years are hard years, and I'm not looking forward to them with my children right now. They're cute and fluffy, and yeah, it's great. But those teenage years, I am worried about them. One, because I was a teenager and I know what it felt like, and I've seen other teenagers. There are so many emotions going on and hormones going on with children. It's it's really, really challenging to direct them. And I tell you why it's so challenging, because they are not actually in control at that point in their life. Their hormones, their emotions are raging so much that they don't have control of it. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard of emotional intelligence. So this idea of emotional intelligence, and the crux of emotional intelligence is that I am in control of my emotions rather than my emotions are in control of me. Comes back to the same stimulus and response. If you're in control of your emotions, wide space between stimulus and response. Not in control of your emotions, something happened, that fights at home, parents, children arguing with each other. So that emotional quotient or emotional intelligence is all about being in control of your emotions versus your emotions in control of you. And when you're a teenager, these emotions, hormones are just going wild. They haven't worked on trying to, they haven't worked on trying to control them. They've just started to feel them. So it's very hard for them to control themselves, and even harder for you to be able to control them. The first thing I would say is, don't take it personally. It's very easy for us as parents to just take it. I've worked so hard for you. Every day I've done this, I've done that. Don't take that. Doesn't help, especially when you express that to them, because then they think, well, I didn't ask you to do this for me. I didn't ask you, and then you get down these terrible, terrible fights, etc. So it's so important that us, as those parents, if we're trying to manage teenagers, we first build up that space between stimulus and response. We increase our emotional intelligence. Then we understand what's going on with them. Why are they feeling this way? Because there's an abundance of emotions and hormones. Okay, well, now we understand that. Find the right times. When those emotions are high, don't get into it. It's natural, isn't it? And you please do share. When something is going on, they'll talk rudely to you, and you'll think, right, I'm not even going to tolerate it. How dare you? It's the worst thing you can do. Just pause, leave it there, even though it might feel right. Sometimes we do things and our gut, our emotion tells you, go with it. It feels right. The more adrenaline you've got, yes, it feels right. No, it's not. You're not going to achieve anything. The best thing you can do is just pause, take some time out, wait for them to calm down, and then have a chat with them. That's one thing. The second thing is association. Your children, as they become teenagers, do you remember being a teenager when you were 16, 17? You thought you knew everything in the world. You thought, I know everything in this world. Obviously, you don't. If only I knew what I thought I knew then yeah, my life would be amazing. So my advice is get them into look for good association, other children who are doing well. Don't compare to those children, don't compare your children to those children, but try and find that right association where there is meditation, where there are people who are working hard to try and find a good career. And then the other piece, allow them to talk. Quite often we've built a box, we don't even realize it. We've built a box around our children and we've said, I want my children to fit in this box. And if they don't fit in this box, then they are a failure to me, whether we did it consciously or if we did it unconsciously. Many of us, we've built this box. I built a box. I might not even know what that box is, but I built it for my children. The moment they stray out of that box, we get stressed, we get worked up, we get concerned for them. Naturally, we do. But some children, some parents are able to say, okay, you've strayed out of that box. Maybe my box was too narrow. I need to widen my box. But most of the time, what happens is we start getting stressed at our children, we start getting angry, and they don't feel comfortable to open up about their thoughts and feelings. Just listen to them. Say, what do you want to do in life? Tell me what's going on. You are not going to get them to listen the first time round because they're like, you're my mom, you're my dad. I don't want to talk about it. But over time, just keep asking them, just listen to them, have a chat. Is there a cousin? Is there a cool uncle that they talk to? Get them to listen to them. Some advice. Cool. Anything else? If those in the admin, just bring forward any of the questions that people have been asking. Is there a way to help someone that uses an avoidance strategy when they are struggling? I think we all do. I think we do some avoidance when we're struggling. Again, I would say just try and talk to them. I'm going to teach you something about psycholinguistics. Psycholinguistics mean the words we use have an impact on how we think and feel. Okay, this is really key. The words we use have an impact on how we think and feel. Can everyone that's online do this? I want you to just grab a pen and hold it like this. So just grab a pen. I'll give you a moment to do that. I have no idea whether you are actually doing this or not, but please do. Yeah, just grab a pen and hold it like this. Give it a good squeeze. Yeah, give it a good squeeze. And what I'd like you to do, yeah, just give it a nice good squeeze. Hold it like that. And I want you to try to let go. Just try and let go. Okay, let go. And now hopefully you've let go of that pen. I want to take our time with this. When I said try to let go, how many of you let go? I'm guessing most of you didn't let go. So when I said try to let go, how many of you let go? Please do interact. Was any of that wording confusing when I said try to let go? The word try, when I said try to let go, and I'm sure you felt this. When I said try, your brain went try to let go. That means it must be hard. Well, that means I can't let go. But when I said let go, yeah, it sounded strange, somebody said. But when I said let go, then you let go. Just adding that word try affected how you thought about that sentence. Yeah, it took me a few seconds. Just that word try. Now, my point isn't here, should we use the word try, should we not? I like to not use that. Sometimes I do use it because I will say to my go on, just try and do that. And other times I'll say, just do that. The point is words affect how we think and feel. It's called psycholinguistics. Many times in argument situations, heated situations, we'll say something that will trigger a response in another person. And it may have been the subtlest of things that we've said. We think, oh, well, it's tiny, but I've said that thing and it triggers a huge response in that other person because the words you've used there, and you might think, what? I only said this, but has made them think and feel something. This whole area is huge. I do a whole 2-day workshop just on psycholinguistics. And the reason why I'm introducing it is because we have to be aware of the words that we are using. Words are a massive part of our communication, and we have to be really mindful of the words that we are using. We also have to be mindful of our body language and facial expressions. Yeah, actually, so much of our knowledge, so much of the message comes from our facial expressions, tone of voice. We can sense it. Albert Mehrabian, he's a scientist at Harvard. He found that actually is around 97% is just from tone and body language. But we're going to ignore that for now. This idea of psycholinguistics relates to this feelings that we have. When I use certain words, it makes me feel a certain way. So when we're dealing with children, we have to be really careful about the words that we're using and the impact that those words have. There is a fantastic book. I'm gonna recommend this to everybody. It's called, it's a bit weird, but it's What to Say After Hello. It was written in the 70s, but it's what to say after hello. And it's all to do with how our words put other people in certain states. This is called transactional analysis. They're parent, adult, child states, and how our words affect how other people think and feel. As an example, simple example, not to do with our children necessarily and the words we'll say to them, but when you were young, you were told, don't talk to strangers. You say that to your children. So now when you go on the tube in London and someone talks to you, a stranger talks to you, you ignore them. You're like, don't talk to strangers. They could kill me on the tube. I better not speak to them. So it's really important that we think about the language that we use as well. The language influences how people think and feel. Someone said, do you help your child to motivate themselves when they always feel like a failure, no matter what you say or do? You have to keep doing it, Sheetal. You have to keep motivating them. Don't worry about what they say, or if they say, "Oh, I'm a failure, I'm this, or I'm failure." Just listen to them. The natural thing that you do when, because it's your child will say to them, "I'm a failure." I did it. And what do you do? What's your natural response when someone says to you, "I'm a failure," someone you care about, or there's nothing going right for me, it just doesn't work. What's your natural response? No, you're not. You're not a failure. You're amazing. You're da da da. That doesn't change. In their mind, they're like, whatever. They're just words you're saying to me. I still feel like I'm a failure. The first thing you should do at that point is dig a bit deeper, because we just want to close it off. We want to say, no, you're not a failure. Let's move on. Yeah, it's by Eric Byrne. So what we want to say is, we want to say, why do you feel like a failure? Talk to me. What's going on? Why do you feel like a failure? Why do you feel like this isn't working for you? Just listen. Spend the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes just listening. You're not offering anything. You're not saying, no, you're not disagreeing with them. The key thing is, you want to be on side with them. If you're saying, imagine they're saying, I'm a failure. No, you're not a failure. You're on opposite sides already. I'm a failure. Okay, I'm not going to agreeing with you, but talk to me. Why do you think you're a failure? What is going on there? Try and understand what's going on. Listen to it, meditate on it, and then think about, okay, well, what can we do to solve that? It comes back to behaviors. I really liked the way that you did this. That looks so good to me. You're looking at their behaviors and you're rewarding behaviors behaviors and outcomes. You've explained how that behavior led to that outcome and telling them that's a good thing, or a negative thing. Cool. What other questions have we got? Anyone, any more questions? And then I want us to try a meditation. No, I use that word try. Right. All right. So I want everyone to just try this, and it's going to be you might feel uncomfortable if you're first time you're doing any sort of meditation. It may be that you feel like you can't do it right now, okay, because there's people around you or whatever. But I just want you to take a deep breath. So close your eyes and take a deep breath. So deep breath in and hold and out. And as you're doing this meditation, naturally what happens is your mind says, no, you can't afford to switch off. You are too busy. You can't switch off. Don't switch off. We're not going to fight the mind. We're just going to ignore it. So again, deep breath in, hold and out. Now I have some spiritual practices that I use to help me with my meditation. I'll share some of those later. But for now, we're just trying to control the mind, relax the mind. So deep breath in and out. I want you to focus on the breath. So deep breath in again. And you're going to smile. So I want you to smile, even if it's fully fake. Mine's going to be a fake smile. We can trick the body into thinking that we're happy. Naturally, when we smile, it releases endorphins. Deep breath in now again. And out. In, out. As you're doing that, I want you to imagine, what do you look like as the best parent version of yourself? You're playing with your children, you're happy, you're smiling, whatever it is. What are you wearing? Where are you sitting? I want you to imagine that. The key thing is you are super happy. Your children are super happy. Deep breath in, hold, and out. The mind might fight you. It might say, no, don't do this. Don't do that. This is silly. Why are you doing this? Just ignore it. You absolutely have nothing to lose by doing this exercise. Deep breath in, hold, and out. You don't have to think about anything. You don't have to worry about anything. Deep breath in, hold, out. I want you to imagine saying to your children that you love them. Deep breath in and out. Whatever you do, whatever they do, you'll always love them. Deep breath in and out. And just keep breathing in and out, focusing on the breath. I'm going to count down now from 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You can just slowly open your eyes again. Now, I hope it wasn't just me that had my eyes closed and tried that. But doing a simple meditation like that first thing in the morning without checking your phone, without stressing, is so important. Someone said, "How do you involve children in meditation when they're not interested?" It's the same principle. Children will do as you do rather than as you say. So the more you do it, it may not be that day, it may not be that week, it may not be that month, but it might take 6, 7, it might take a year. It might be when they're adults that they do that. Oh yeah, I saw my dad do that or my mum do that when they were stressed. It's so important. It's so important to demonstrate to children how to behave. All of this stuff takes time. If you think about changing yourself, how hard is it? How many of you want to say, you know what, tomorrow is stressful in the mornings. You know what? I'm going to bed early tonight. I'm waking up tomorrow. I'm going to start up early. I'm going to do meditation. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do all of that. What goes on in the morning? The alarm goes off. Oh, snooze button. Go back to who cares? I'll do it tomorrow. You've got all the right intentions, the best intentions to change yourself. Tomorrow, from tomorrow, I'm going to the gym. That's it. I've got to work out. Tomorrow, we're on a new diet. And then you're like, oh, go on then. Yeah, go on then. I'll have one more Bronto. Go on then. Give it to me. Oh, go, yeah, okay. Let's a bit more chocolate. It's fine. Okay, from the next day, we're going to do it. Our brain doesn't like change. It doesn't like pain. It avoids it. And so if it's hard for us to change ourselves, what about our children? It's going to be so hard for us to try and change them. The only way we can do it, the real way we can do it, is by setting the right example for them. Walking the walk, or yeah. What else? Any other questions as we come to a close? In closing, I would say that I am just so impressed with parents' ability in this lockdown period. Has been a nightmare. It's been stress. So also be easy on yourself as well. Congratulate yourself. You know what? I'm doing a good job. I genuinely care and love my children. I'm doing a good job, and just congratulate yourself on that as well. I think it's really important to do that, to reflect and think about all the good things that you are doing as a parent as well. Build up your own self-esteem and your own self-worth and think, you know what? Okay, there are things I need to improve, but I'm doing a good job. I love my children. Great. Well, if there aren't any other questions, then I will we'll leave it there. I can tell one more story if you want. Right, I'll tell one about music. I can't, there's no questions, but I'll tell one about music. So when I used to work in the school, I was a music school teacher, and you I'm sure you guys can relate to this era of movies and pieces. I'm getting old. There, I started because I'm a singer. I started an R&B club. I thought, you know what, this is my. I was a lot younger. I'm talking about 20 years ago. Yeah, just under 20 years ago. And so I was a young school teacher, and these children. It was a really disadvantaged school, and I thought, you know what? How can I connect with these kids? I'll start an R&B club. And the kids thought, this is amazing. Who is this teacher? I was a new teacher in the school. There's an R&B club on a Wednesday lunchtime. And so I walk into the R&B club, and I am not street. Okay, I'm not. I grew up in Coventry, but I'm from an Indian household. I am so not street. Where these kids are like, "Yo, what's up, sir? Yo, how you doing? Innit?" No, like I was like, "Yo." This is. I'm not like I can't relate. Anyway, so I walk in, and there's all these kids sitting around. They're all sitting there, and I walk in, and I'm Indian. Indians just weren't cool then as well. And if you're Indian and you think you were cool then, maybe you were. I wasn't. So anyway, I walk into the room and they're thinking, well, at least I think they're thinking, what am I possibly going to teach them? And they are, and they look at me like, so, sir, yeah, you said you're going to start this. Do you even know what R&B is, sir? It's like, yeah, I think I've got an idea. And they said, well, this guy Delio, he is our number one singer in the school, sir. This young kid, he was 15 years old, and he's a good singer. And he said, yo, sir, I'm gonna sing to you. Tell me what you think, and then I want to hear you sing, sir. So I was like, this is 8 Mile. This is Eminem. This is like a movie. Anyways, and this kid stands up and goes, sings this song. I can't remember. I think it was Usher, something like that. Usher was cool in those days. Anyway, he sang Usher, and I thought, I don't know any of these songs. Like, I've heard them, but I don't know all the lyrics. What the hell am I going to sing? And in my head came Sister Act. So have you seen Sister Act? I'm hoping you have. And there's a warm up where the Whoopi Goldberg in the warm up, she gets them to sing, if you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you gotta wake up and pay attention. So anyway, so I crack out with that, and I'm like, so I stand there and I say, all right, yeah, I got this. Inside, I'm really nervous, and I go, if you wanna be somebody, if you wanna go somewhere, you gotta wake up and pay attention. Anyway, so I did that, and they're like, oh, sir, you can sing, sir. Oh my God, so. Anyway, it was some of the best experiences I had was just helping those children in that R&B club, because otherwise they would have been smoking weeds, bunking off school, and it was a reason for them to stay in school. But yeah, that was a story I'd share. So look, someone said, how to make kids interested in listening if they feel it difficult to sit in one go. It's like our mind just doesn't want to sit. As we get older, we calm down a little bit. But when you're young, that child's energy is about going here, there, everywhere. You just got to keep practicing with them. You just got to say, hey, why don't you try this? Put it on in the background. You do it. Eventually they'll come, they'll sit and listen and have a go. When I had exam time, I remember exam time was when I would do that, when I was doing my exams, every day my dad would do his prayers every day without fail, in the morning and in the evening. And when I had exams, I would just sit with him. I'd just sit there, spend more time. I'd read Bhagavad Gita with him. And all of that just helped me. And once I started doing it, I realized the value in it, and I'd carry on doing it. You're only going to carry on if you can see some benefit or value in it. Well, that's all you need, that little hook. So don't push it on them. Just do it yourself. Just invite them in. Eventually they'll come and do it themselves. Oh, sure. I think you're gonna have to be strict. That's the key thing. You're just gonna have to. And I know we don't want to disappoint. We don't want to get in fights with our children. Just gonna have to be strict. Lay out the things. This is the reason why we don't do this, and therefore I need to switch your games off. A key lesson I was taught when I was a teacher was do not argue with children. I thought, do not argue with children. What do you mean, don't argue? I'm gonna have to argue with them all the time. They're not gonna listen to me. And what eventually I got it. Do not argue with children, meaning don't argue with them. You say, this is this, and this is how this is going to work. And they'll go, yeah, but mum, you said that I could do this. And then the natural thing is, yeah, but you need to, no, you stick with that line. Games are off at 8 p.m. But mum, that's so not fair. Games are off at 8 p.m. You're not engaging in any other conversation. Games are off at 8 p.m. Done. And I know it sounds harsh, but well, it's not harsh actually. I think it's really important. And you just set that tone. I am not going to argue with you. Great book. That book by Eric Byrne, What to Say After Hello, is a bit weird, as I said, but in there it talks about parent, adult, child relationships and how they continue into adulthood as well. And some of the language in there is really powerful. It sets the tone of, I am not going on your level. You're not my level. I'm your parent. And if you maintain a certain tone and use of words, your children will respect you. You just don't argue with them. That's the key thing. Shivani, I have to answer that one. We've got a minute left, but I have to answer this. How do you deal with the guilt of not being the best version of yourself for children? Just you're working on it as well, and that's the key thing. None of us are perfect. Tell me who is perfect? Nobody. But as long as you genuinely trying to work on it. I've got a friend of mine, and she is always reading books. She's always trying to say, you know what, I want to be better, and that's the key thing. Get rid of guilt. Guilt is this barrier that just holds you back and leads to inaction actually. So Don't worry about the get rid of that guilt. You are not gonna be the best version of yourself, but you're working towards it, and that's what your children will see. That, "Oh, my mum, my dad, my parent is working towards this look, they're working on themselves." That is actually wonderful for children to see, that parents are able to say sorry when they make mistakes, are able to apologize to the partner. If you have a fight with your partner in front of the kids, have if and we all do. How many of us say, "I don't wanna have fights in front of my children"? You have a fight in front of your children. Well, if you have a fight in front of your children, make sure your children see you apologize to one another as well. That's so important. Allow them to see you grow. You are not perfect. It's okay for them to not see you as perfect, as long as they can see that you are growing as well. I always tell my child that I'm learning to be a parent, just they're learning to grow up. I love it, Bhavani. Yeah. Awesome. So we're at time. Thank you so much for your for listening. I hope this was useful. I hope this wasn't me just waffling on. And I'm sure if you've got questions, the Avanti team can put you in touch. Yeah, good, bad, right, wrong. Great. All right. Thanks, guys. Take care. See you soon.